Hi, welcome to Grow With Angie. I'm Angie. Today we're going to be doing a comparison of the iHarvest and the AeroGarden. These are two very popular hydroponic systems. Very similar, but also very different. I'm going to go over 10 different things that I want to compare between the two. Number one, size. As you can see, the iHarvest behind me is quite tall. It's around 5 foot, where AeroGarden is going to either set on top of a countertop, or if you do the larger size, you can put them on the floor. In the AeroGarden, you can buy a little mini 3-pod. You can get a 6-pod, a 9-pod, a 12-pod, up to 24. The iHarvest is actually 30-pod. Now comparison number 2 is water. The one thing with the AeroGarden is it does have a little add water button down here. So when I'm running out of water, it's gonna turn red and it's gonna say, hey, add some water. The negative to the water is my plants are really growing all over the top of this unit. So to be able to put water in there, I have to lift and then fill underneath there. Now let's look at the water system in the iHarvest. This really has a lot more water in it. You just lift the lid and you're in your water. I can tell inside how much water is needed. There is no fancy light or timer. It's really easy to look inside and see where my basket is. And if it's under this basket about halfway, I'm gonna wanna add a little bit of water. Next, let's talk about noise. Noise is going to be significantly more with the iHarvest. It's gonna have this really nice, peaceful waterfall sound. The AeroGarden, honestly, I don't hear it at all, like no noise. So two different ways of the water system. The iHarvest actually pumps the water from the base all the way up to the top and it flows down. That's what's giving you that waterfall sound. In the AeroGarden, it just drips over top of each pod, but all concealed in that little base. Also, these do stay stagnant in the tank when the pump is not on, but there's a trick to fix that. If you go back and look at some of my other videos with my accessories or the unboxing, you'll see what I mean by that one. Comparison number 4 is the pods. This is what the iHarvest one looks like. It's a simple basket with a growing media, which just pops right out, and it's called a rapid rooter. You can buy rapid rooters on Amazon, at hydroponic stores, garden stores. You can get these little guys anywhere. And you can plant virtually any seed you want to. I put the seed in, I knew I put the seed in, and I'm waiting for something to grow. The AeroGarden comes like this. It already has a peat moss base inside. It tells you what type of plant is in it with the seed. Now I'm just hoping and praying that there's a dill seed in here. I do know that if you get one that doesn't sprout, you can contact AeroGarden and they'll send you a replacement. Really, AeroGarden is taking the guesswork out of planting. You just pop this in and you'll have a plant. Lights. I have all the lights on. These guys are bright. Be prepared to have brightness in your house. I love it because of seasonal depression in the winter time. These are not as bright. They're bright enough for your plant. Something smaller like this is not gonna be that bright. I personally don't mind it. It feels like summer to me all the time. The lights only go up and down so far. You're gonna move your lights depending on the growth of your plant. These, you can slide them out or push them in. If you have something like a trellis that you're growing up your wall, you can take these lights and move them. You're gonna have a lot more flexibility with where your lights are. With the AeroGarden, they're going to give you something like this. It tells you to add 1 capful to your tank, or depending on the size, 2 or 3, and that's when the indicator light comes on and says, hey, add food. With the iHarvest, it's a little bit more of a chemistry set. You're gonna be adding something called MaxiGrow. You can do your composting teas. You can figure out other types of nutrients to put in. You're gonna be adding a scoop of that once a week, depending on how much they eat. There's also one called Maxi Bloom. So on my green pepper plants, I have flowers coming in, and you switch to your flower food. To test it, You have EC meters, ppm meters, pH meters. I know it sounds like a lot. It's really not. You're gonna take this off, you're gonna stick it in the water, you're gonna test your food levels, and this will tell you when to add plant food. I think this is great. It tells you to just add your plant food. That's another thing to keep in mind. How do you clean these guys? Well, with this one, it's a lot of wiping down. I actually have a little dripping going on right now, which you can just pick the lid up and it stays right there. The top will actually funnel back in if there is dripping from some plants. So I have to figure out who my culprit is, and it might be this one that's hanging down a little too low. Now, the AeroGarden, there's not gonna be any real dripping or water leakage at all from these. But when you want to take your pods out and clean, the inside is pretty crazy. A huge mess of roots. And it's tangled and twisted and not going to be fun to pull apart for sure. Because these plants run downward with their roots, makes it really easy just to slide them out. Comparison number 8 is plant growth. In an AeroGarden, your plants are gonna kind of go more out and fall off the edge. Really look into the trellis system or the 12 to 24 pod system. With the iHarvest being up against the wall, the plants grow out and upward. Everything will be shooting up. The base of the plant is really kind of curved and everything is gonna be more vertical, and they do already have a trellis system. Comparison number 9, the timers. On the iHarvest, you're actually going to get a wall timer that plugs in, and then you put your pump into one timer and your lights into another. The pump on the AeroGarden is totally internal. So the timer in there cannot be changed. It just does what it does. These I ran at 15 minutes on and 45 minutes off. That's all stuff you can play around with the iHarvest, having a little bit more control of the timers. The lights are also on timers with the iHarvest as well as the AeroGarden. 15 hours for both. This again is a timer that you set so you can do it morning to evening at whatever time you want. The AeroGarden, just whenever you plug it in, that's when it starts the timing. So for me, I have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to reset the timer if there's a power outage, where this one I just turn and reset the clock. My number 10 and final comparison is price. To be a little bit more fair, I'm gonna go up to the 24 pod, which is still smaller than a 30 pod, and do a price comparison. Now, if you do a 24 size unit of the AeroGarden, you're going to be spending around $670. Now, with the iHarvest, you're gonna be spending around $849. I do have a coupon code to save $50 off. That's gonna bring it a little bit more comparable between those two units. Now I have to say, I do not work for iHarvest. I am not employed for iHarvest. I am not a sales rep for iHarvest. I have a friend and family code that I share with all of you. Yes, I make a little bit of commission, but that helps my YouTube channel continue to grow. I also promote AeroGarden. Honestly, it's just which system you want. DIY, if you want to do a DIY. There's also Tower Garden, there's Garden or Garden. I'm not really sure how you say that one, Gardyn. Those are other systems that you can look at. For me personally, it's all about aesthetics and what you want in your house. Please let me know if you have a favorite hydroponic system by leaving a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, and that way you'll know every time I upload a video. We'll see you on the next episode of Grow with Angie.